So this is about Alice Paalen Rahon, who was a shapeshifter in every single possible way you can imagine. First of all, she shifted where she was born. She said she was born in Brittany. She was not, but she vacationed there. And so the Celtic myths keep coming up. Then she shifted her date of birth. So she was older than she said she was. And she shifted a lot of other things. She shifted her nationality because she was really French. Then she became Mexican. And she shifted her careers all the time. She was a poet, and then a painter, and then a hat maker, and then a sculptor of wire sculptures. And I'll read you one of those about Orion. And then she was a shifter of partners, a very big shift of partners. First, she was with the Austrian painter Wolfgang Paalen, and I'll be reading you 2 poems about him and for him. And then she had a very passionate love affair with Picasso. Few women didn't, but she did too. And then she was going to stay with him, but Paalen said, okay, I'll commit suicide if you stay with him. So she went back to him, and then after 2 more marriages, he committed suicide anyway. So at that point, when she got divorced from him, she then took her mother's maiden name, which was Rahon. Kind of interesting to take your mother's maiden name, I think. And then she had already traveled with Paalen to Altamira, those 10,000 years old ancient caves. And from those, she took a lot of earth that she put in her paintings, and she also scraped the paint off Wolfgang Paalen's palette and put it in her paintings. And then she put string and other things in there, sand. And then she was with the cinematographer Edward Fitzgerald. That didn't last very long either. They made a film together. The film got lost. And then she ended up her life alone with many cats. And she was probably the most poetic person I've ever dealt with. And I want to salute her poetry, which is what I'm doing here. And I should tell you that in this book that I'll be reading from, there's no other place to get the French. It's impossible to get the French anywhere. So it's not only bilingual, but I'll be reading you the French because it's really important. And the first poems are from a book called À même la terre, meaning lying on the bare earth. She was thinking about the immigrants lying on the bare earth. And these are poems which Breton saluted not as poetry, but as a talisman for surrealism itself. She was very surrealist. They don't have titles. In the night of the beginning, fog left its blood between salty lips, beyond the eyes of the sun. Dans la nuit du commencement, le brouillard laissa son sang entre les lèvres salées, au-delà des yeux du soleil. I file down invisible bars. I snort like a horse. I swaddle swaddling clothes. I offer hearts and hands. I turn my head towards me. I see branches like birds, their faces white towards the sky. I sound unknown hours. I arrive without leaving. I loose the strings. I sleep on my hair. I don't look back. My eyes don't obey. My body doesn't obey. My hands, these strangers, I count the furrows in the straw until they turn gold. Je lime des barreaux invisibles. Je souffle comme les chevaux. J'enveloppe ces langes. J'offre des cœurs et des mains. Je tourne la tête vers moi. Je vois les branches comme les oiseaux. Leur face est blanche vers le ciel. Je sonne des heures inconnues. J'arrive sans partir. Je tiens, je lâche les fils. Je dors sur mes cheveux. Je ne regarde pas en arrière. Mes yeux n'obéissent pas. Mon cœur n'obéit pas. Mes mains, ces étrangères. Je compte les sillons dans la paille jusqu'à ce que l'or s'en suive. This is from a very rare book called Le Sablier Couché. I could only find very few copies in the universe, and I had to buy one at an extraordinary price. Reclining Hourglass. It's called Le Sablier Couché, the whole little book, 4 poems. No sleeping wind shall carry my head. No hand with the imprint of my cheek, no arm will hold me. At the open window, your arm is alone. You could not exist between this sun and this window at the insult of springtime. There you are, laced and knotted, no end of strings and knots of your own mute canvas. The woman deserted like a house sold, netted without a sound in swaddling clothes. Her mouth drinks, quenches no language, at length in vain. All roads lost before birth. The dove, its dress worn out by captivity in the wicker basket at the window. Your foliage was not yet born. The blackbird of twilights at dawn, I cannot hear your voice that closes eyes and doors that has drunk my heart. Sablier couché. Nul vent normand ne portera ma tête, nulle main à l'empreinte de ma joue, nul bras ne me tiendra. À la croisée ouverte, ton bras est seul. Tu n'as pu exister entre ce soleil et cette croisée à l'injure du printemps. Te voilà lassé et noué, sans fin de fil et de nœuds de ta propre toile muette. La femme déserte comme la maison vendue, prise au filet sans bruit de l'ange. Sa bouche n'abreuve aucun langage, longue veine, niée par les veines, toute route perdue avant de naître. La colombe à la robe usée de captivité en cage d'osier à la fenêtre. Tes feuillages ne sont pas nés, le merle oiseau des crépuscules. Je ne peux à l'aube écouter ta voix qui ferme les portes et les yeux, qui a bu mon cœur. And this is about Orion, which I talked to you about. Voici Orion. Here's Orion, the great man of the sky, stretched out on the highest mountain, among the large pools of the stone's white blood, grazing the prairies of night. Here is my life around my body, always offered, always withdrawn, like a star fleeing the sky, the spikes of my blood flowering and knocking at the tree. Here is the tree of solitude. Here is a faithful bouquet of tortured flowers. Here is the night returned, bearing in its arms a human constellation whose head is a lighthouse. Here is my face of fire, seen in the mirror of ghosts, at the height of trees, at the height of frozen vertebrae, set free. Voici Orion, le grand homme du ciel, étendu sur la plus haute montagne. Parmi les grandes flaques du sang, blanc des pierres, paissant les prairies de nuit. Voici ma vie autour de mon corps, toujours offerte et toujours reprise. Comme une étoile fuyant le ciel, les pointes de mon sang fleurissent et battent à la porte. Voici l'arbre de solitude. Voici le bouquet fidèle des fleurs torturées. Voici la nuit revenue, portant dans ses bras la constellation humaine dont la tête est un phare. Voici mon visage en feu, vu dans le miroir des fantômes, à hauteur d'arbre, à hauteur de vertèbres glacées, délivrées. I love set free. And this is for Wolfgang Paalen, remembering. Dream of the afternoon of May 28th, for Wolfgang Paalen. We were climbing up a green hill, the road in the hill covered with the same stiff short grass. You were on my right. I was walking in a great calm happiness. The slope was gentle. The crest of the hill was crowned with the leafy woods that halted to the right, where the skyline opened infinitely. It was a moment when the sun stops on the skyline before disappearing. But the sun on this May 28th was like the blaze of a blazing lamp in an immense crystal globe, like an iridescent perfect soap bubble. We were overcome with ecstasy, and I said to you, you remember? It's the same place where we already saw the sun setting like this. With some love poem. Rêve d'une nuit, 28 mai après-midi, à Wolfgang Paalen. Nous montions ensemble une route escaladant une colline verte, la route et la colline couvertes de la même herbe drue et courte. Tu étais à ma droite. Je marchais dans un grand bonheur paisible. La pente était douce. Le haut de la colline était couronné d'un bois touffu qui s'interrompait vers la droite où l'horizon s'ouvrait à l'infini. C'était le moment où le soleil se pose sur l'horizon avant de disparaître. Mais le soleil, ce jour du 28 mai, était comme la flamme d'une lampe flambant dans un immense globe de cristal pareille à une bulle de savon irisée et parfaite. Nous étions ravis et en extase. Et je te disais, tu te souviens, c'est le même lieu où nous avons déjà vu une fois le soleil se coucher ainsi. This is a famous despairing poem called The Désespoir, and I should tell you that in this book I've looked at the manuscript and there are things that are left out in the printed version, not this printed version. Despair, de Pablo Picasso. The firework has gone off. Gray is the absolute color of present time. I saw that the swallows imitated dead leaves well before the autumn. Despair is a school of deaf mutes in procession on a Sunday. It would be better. I don't know what would be better. The thread breaks every moment. Perhaps it's the same frustrating work when a blind man tries to grasp again the memory of colors at his white window. The lovely silver-waisted women are still flying above the towns. Patience. The signposts of these roads where every mistake is irreparable end in a horsehead like a club. You have to cry aloud your secrets before it's too late. It's already too late if you've forgotten to leave out the chair where despair will come sit so as to take part in the conversation. Despair will never be reduced to begging even if you burn its arms. Then it will take on the profile of a poppy against a stormy sky. Its piping laughter will only become insulting. Recently, I've been living in a map on the wall. I think I'm at the crossroads of the wind. I converse with it. The bouquet of lark's feet starts its flight in the dusk and will spend the night above the ponds. The doll jumps rope with her shadow. I shall never tame the shadow which followed me in my childhood. I think the dead listen for a long time at the depths of their tomb to see if their heart is going to beat again. For noise, for the company of noise, let's greet the company attached by strings. May the 29th, 1936, the day she left him. Le désespoir for Pablo Picasso. Le feu d'artifice est tiré. Le gris est la couleur absolue du temps présent. J'ai vu que les hirondelles imitent les feuilles mortes bien avant l'automne. Le désespoir est un collège de sourds-muets en promenant le dimanche. Il vaudrait mieux, je ne sais ce qu'il vaudrait mieux. Le fil se rompt à chaque instant. Peut-être est-ce le même travail décevant quand un aveugle cherche à retrouver le souvenir des couleurs à sa fenêtre blanche. Les belles femmes à taille d'argent volent toujours au-dessus des villes. Patience. Les poteaux indicateurs de ces routes où chaque erreur est irréparable se termine en tête de cheval, formant une massue. Il faut crier tous ces secrets avant qu'il ne soit trop tard. Il est d'avance trop tard si on a oublié de laisser la chaise où viendra s'asseoir le désespoir pour prendre part à la conversation. Le désespoir ne sera jamais réduit à la nécessité de mendier, même si on brûle ses bras. Il affectera alors le profil d'un pavot sur un ciel d'orage. Son rire de pipe ne deviendra qu'insultant. J'habite depuis peu une carte de géographie sur le mur. Je me crois au carrefour du vent. Je m'entretiens avec lui. Le bouquet de pieds d'alouette prend son vol au crépuscule et va passer la nuit sur les étangs. La poupée saute à la corde avec son ombre. Je n'apprivoiserai jamais cette ombre qui me suivait dans mon enfance. Je crois que les morts écoutent longtemps au fond de leur tombe si leur cœur va se remettre à battre. Pour le bruit, pour la compagnie du bruit, saluons la compagnie attachée par des ficelles. And this is Picasso's poem for Alice. Stretched out on the hour of the outstretched color, bleeding into silence by the sound of the perforating light, if the cry in the night of her hair does not roll through the air, the wave that bathes her cannot calm, pierced through by the necklace of smiles that lies heaped up laid aside in the nest of the wound by the tempest whose wing prolongs her caressing martyrdom. The aurora borealis, the array of its electric wires, and hurls her into my glass to often plunge at top speed her heart, to cull the branch of coral hung upon the mirror, that holds her breath. For Alice, pour Alice. À telle heure étendue par l'étendue de la couleur qui joigne ce silence, par le son de la lumière que la perfore. Si le cri dans la nuit de ses cheveux ne roule dans l'air, la vague qui la baigne ne peut calmer, transpercée par le petit monceau qui fait le collier des sourires, déposé dans le nid de la plaie, par la tempête de son aile, son caressant martyr prolonge l'aurore boréale, la toilette de ses fils électriques, et la jette dans mon verre, plongé à toute volée, souvent son cœur cueillir la branche de corail accrochée au miroir qui retient son haleine. Et in this book is a picture, of course, a photo of Picasso's manuscript for her. This is for Frida, as in Frida Kahlo, the person who invited them to Mexico. And they were very alike because of their wounded bodies. To Frida, the living woman, you held by your weight of eternity in the arms of your great nurse, earth nestled against her basalt face, sweating behind her eyelids, the greatest suffering, you stripped the leaf to its skeleton, you sowing in the sun the seed of nightly tears. You, whose soft hands, the softest mirrors of happiness, have no other side. You show the path which knocks with the sound of the miner lost in the mine, singing on the far side of hope. The tongue of the trees has licked your dress and your hair, and your voice in my ear is their bark against my cheek. You came farther off from love than the wheel, and clasped like the virgin diamond of lightning. You are the black swan swimming at night on a mountain lake in the crater, breast of nightly water where the fiery spring drinks in the morning behind the petrified screen of water. The colors begin to spin, strident fountains. The dead child's eyelids are pools of lilac, but the emerald throat bursts with joy. At 3 years of age, the crown is gold. In the depths of this room, in the depths of solitude's cries, 1939. Very moving, I think. Frida, to get permissions for this poem, you can't imagine. Frida, Frida la femme vivante. Toi, tenue de ton poids d'éternité, dans les bras de ta grande nourrice de terre, adossée à son visage de basalte, suant derrière ses paupières les plus grandes douleurs d'être, tu dépouilles la feuille jusqu'à son squelette. Toi, semant au soleil la graine des larmes nocturnes. Toi, dont les mains les plus doux miroirs d'allégresse n'ont pas d'envers. Tu montres au sentier qui cogne avec le bruit mineur perdu dans la mine, chantant au-delà de l'espoir. La langue des arbres a léché ta robe et tes cheveux, et ta voix à mon oreille, et leur écorce à ma joue. Tu es venu plus écarté d'amour que la roue, et serré comme le diamant vierge de foudre. Tu es le cygne noir nageant la nuit sur un lac de montagne dans le cratère, sein d'eau nocturne où s'abreuve la source du feu. Au matin derrière l'écran, pétrifié de cette eau commençant à gérer les couleurs stridentes fontaines, les paupières de l'enfant mort sur les étangs de lilas, mais le gosier d'émeraude éclate de joie. À 3 ans d'âge, la couronne est d'or. Au fond de cette chambre, au fond du cri des solitudes. 1939 is this poem. Another poem for Paalen, which I find incredibly beautiful. He already died at this point. Paalen's Country. She never forgot him, clearly. Paalen's country, blue country of living water under woods and nighttime beasts, country of totems and the mind's lighthouses, fire, love, eternity's amber, your passage here below your starry castle. To Wolfgang from Alice, 1960. Le pays de Paalen, le pays de Paalen, le pays de l'azur, de l'eau vive sous les bois et des bêtes de nuit, le pays des totems et des phares de l'esprit, le feu, l'amour, l'ombre d'éternité, ton passage ici-bas, ton château étoilé. To Wolfgang from Alice, 1960. This poem is called Mélusine. It's not only the last poem in this volume, which I love doing, but it's, to me, the most amazing poem about surrealism, and Lord, do I know a lot of poems about surrealism. This one is about Mélusine, that's a Celtic spirit. Of course, she's a spirit who is also a fish. She's a woman, she's a fish. She flies out the window on Saturday night to become a fish, flies back in to become a woman. Mélusine is the spirit of surrealism. Mélusine. I salute the invisible tree, the invisible shrub in the afternoon garden. The hummingbird traces with its flight the unmoving movement sunspots at the well's bottom, the bottomless well beneath the shadows. At dawn, Mélusine plucks the sun in her hands. The dawn flees like water. Mélusine, owe your cry to the sun stabbing you. You flee surrounded by your cry and the mirror of the love of men. Mélusine weeps for your reflection that will never return. Mélusine. Je salue l'arbre invisible, le buisson invisible au milieu du jardin l'après-midi, que le colibri dessine de son vol, les taches de soleil au fond du puits, le puits sans fond, au fond des ténèbres. À l'aube, Mélusine cueille le soleil dans ses mains, l'aube, comme de l'eau, s'enfuit. Et Mélusine, ô ton cri à ce soleil qui te poignarde, tu fuis enveloppé de ton cri, le cri de miroir de l'amour des hommes. Mélusine, pleure ton reflet qui ne reviendra plus. Thank you.